So our idea is very simple. Let's require a background check on commercial gun sales. If you are in advertising, if you're setting up a desk or table at a gun show and you're selling your wares, that's fine, but let's just do a background check.
For our inaugural week, Broad and Liberty sat down with Senator Pat Toomey for an exclusive, in-depth interview in his Washington, D.C. office. Before speaking about Senator Toomey's pending gun background checks legislation, Broad and Liberty was honored to attend a Congressional Badge of Bravery ceremony for Baltimore detective Roy Gibbs.
It's a real honor for me to be here today to commend Detective Gibbs for his bravery. So I want to thank you for your extraordinary service, for your dedication to your colleagues, to your community, to all of us, and just thank you for what you've done. And I've been very, very outspoken in my opposition to the effort to malign police generally, which has been prevalent for some years now. I think it is grotesque and completely inappropriate, and I've tried to counter that anti-police narrative by recognizing what I think is the truth and what I think most Pennsylvanians believe, which is, by and large, the vast majority of police officers are good men and women who take great risks for our security, and we should be grateful.
Next, Senator Toomey spoke with Broad and Liberty about his bill to expand gun background checks on all commercial gun sales.
Yeah, so it's a very simple idea, and it is based on where there is a nearly completely universal consensus in Pennsylvania and across America, and that is violent criminals and dangerously mentally ill people shouldn't have access to firearms. Now, a determined person can find a way, but we should make it as difficult as possible for people who are in those two categories to get a firearm for the obvious reason that they're dangerous. So the mechanism by which we determine whether a person is in one of those two categories when somebody goes to buy a firearm is a background check. So we've got a database, and the database has a list of everybody who's got a disqualifying criminal conviction and everybody who's got a disqualifying adjudication that they're dangerously mentally ill. And when you go to buy a firearm from a licensed firearm dealer, you have to submit to that background check. If there's not a line, it takes a few minutes. And if you're not in one of those categories, you get your gun. If you are in one of those categories, then you're denied. In Pennsylvania, we have a state law that says every handgun requires a background check, whether it's done by a licensed firearms dealer or not. What Senator Manchin and I observed is that there's significant volumes of guns are sold that are not subject to the background checks. And I'm not talking about the personal sales of where a guy sells a shotgun to his cousin. I'm talking about internet-based sales, advertising in newspapers, and at gun shows by non-licensed firearms dealers. And so our idea is very simple. Let's require a background check on commercial gun sales. If you are in advertising, if you're setting up a desk or table at a gun show and you're selling your wares, that's fine, but let's just do a background check, like we do for licensed firearm dealers, like every single transaction regarding a handgun in Pennsylvania. That's the heart of it. Absolutely does not infringe on Second Amendment rights. I would aggressively fight against any kind of legislation that would ban ownership of commonly owned firearms. The federal government does not need a registry of who owns what guns, doesn't have it today, and I would fight aggressively against creating one. We're divided. You know, last time we voted on this, I got very few Republican colleagues who supported it, but as the public and my colleagues have become more aware of exactly what our bill does and what it does not do, there are definitely Republican senators who voted no in the past who are now very interested. Meanwhile, on the Democratic side, certainly many Democratic senators want to go way beyond background checks. They want to confiscate categories of guns. They want to ban categories of guns and various kinds of hardware. So they look at this and say, well, that's not enough. Will the Democrats decide, well, this is progress, so I'll vote for it, even though it doesn't do all the things that they would like it to do? And on the Republican side, we've had a history of people being reluctant to do anything at all. So we've still got a big challenge ahead of us, but that's what we're working on. So it's a simple idea. It's very broadly supported, including by gun owners, and that's what we're trying to persuade the president to embrace.
So what happens next with Senator Toomey's gun background checks bill? That's now up to the president and Congress. This has been a video production of Broad and Liberty, your source for thought-provoking, shareable content in Greater Philadelphia and beyond.